Thunder rolled across the Texas plains as Jack Callahan guided his horse toward the burnt remains of what used to be a trading post. The smoke still hung in the air, acrid and bitter, telling him the attack had been recent. Maybe hours, not days. He'd seen too much death in his 30 years, first in the war and now out here on the frontier, but it never got easier. That's when he heard it, a small whimper coming from beneath an overturned wagon. Jack dismounted quickly, his hand instinctively moving to his Colt before he reminded himself that danger had likely already passed. He lifted the wagon's edge carefully, and there she was. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, covered in ash and dried blood that didn't appear to be her own. Apache, judging by her features and the beadwork on her torn dress. Her enormous brown eyes stared up at him with the kind of terror that aged a child before their time. "Easy now," Jack said softly, holstering his weapon and extending his empty hands. "I ain't gonna hurt you, little miss." She didn't move, barely seemed to breathe. Jack had learned some Apache during his time as an Army scout, though he'd left that life behind years ago, disgusted by the brutality he'd witnessed on both sides. Dagoti, he tried, the Apache word for friend. Dagoti. Something flickered in her eyes. She crawled out slowly, her small body shaking. And when she stood, Jack saw that her feet were bare and bleeding. Without thinking, he scooped her up. She went rigid but didn't fight, too exhausted or too traumatized to resist. Jack carried her to his horse, wrapping her in his bedroll. "Let's get you somewhere safe." His ranch was modest, a simple house, a decent barn, and enough land to run a small herd. He'd bought it with his Army pay, dreaming of peace and solitude. He wasn't sure what to make of having a terrified Apache child as a guest. But leaving her wasn't an option his conscience could bear. For 3 days the girl didn't speak. She accepted food and water but watched him constantly, ready to bolt at any sudden movement. Jack named her Little Bird in his mind, the way she startled at every sound. He talked to her anyway, keeping his voice low and steady, telling her about the ranch, the horses, the stubborn cow that liked to escape every Tuesday like clockwork. On the 4th morning, she finally spoke. "Amma," Jack knew that word. Mother. "Your mama," he said gently. "You want to find your mama?" She nodded frantically, tears streaming down her dirt-smudged face. Amma, sigh, mother, gone. Jack's heart clenched. He'd assumed the girl was an orphan, given the massacre at the trading post. But if her mother was alive, separated during the chaos, "We'll find her," he promised, hoping to God it was a promise he could keep. "What's your name, little one?" "Tala," she whispered. "Tala," Jack repeated, offering his hand. "I'm Jack, and I give you my word. We'll find your mama." He had no idea that promise would lead him to a woman who would upend his entire, carefully ordered world, who would challenge everything he thought he knew about himself, about love, about belonging. Finding Tala's mother proved harder than Jack anticipated. He rode to the nearby Apache camp under a white flag, Tala clutched tight in front of him, his heart hammering as warriors surrounded them with rifles ready. He'd been on the other side of this equation before, and the memory wasn't pleasant. An older man, his face weathered as canyon stone, approached. Jack spoke in halting Apache, explaining how he'd found Tala, that he only wished to return her safely. The warriors conferred, their expressions skeptical, hands never leaving their weapons. Then she emerged from one of the wiki-ups. Ayana moved like water, graceful and purposeful, her long black hair braided with leather and turquoise beads. She was younger than Jack expected, maybe 25, with high cheekbones and eyes that held both fierce intelligence and barely concealed grief. When she saw Tala, a sound escaped her throat that was part sob, part prayer. "Shitai!" Tala screamed, launching herself from the horse before Jack could stop her. Mother and daughter collided in an embrace that made Jack's chest ache with its intensity. Ayanna sank to her knees, clutching Tala, her whole body shaking as she whispered in Apache, too rapid for Jack to follow. She checked her daughter over frantically, touching her face, her arms, her hands, as if confirming she was real. Finally, Ayanna looked up at Jack, and he felt the full weight of her gaze. She stood slowly, keeping Tala tucked against her side, and approached him with cautious steps. "You bring back my daughter," she said in careful English, each word deliberate. "You could have sold her, killed her, used her, but you bring her back." "She's a child," Jack said simply. "Ain't no other choice for a decent man." Something shifted in Ayanna's expression, surprise, reassessment. "You are the soldier? The one they call Ghost?" Jack stiffened. That had been his name during the war, earned for his ability to move unseen, to scout enemy positions. He'd hated it, hated what he'd been asked to do. I ain't that man anymore." "Good," Ayanna said. "That man had dead eyes. She studied him intently. "You have sad eyes. Different." The elder approached, speaking rapidly in Apache. Ayanna responded, gesturing to Jack, to Tala. A debate ensued, voices rising. Jack caught enough to understand they were arguing about him, whether he could be trusted, whether this was a trick, whether any white man deserved their gratitude. Ayanna's voice cut through the argument, sharp and final. She turned back to Jack. "My father says you must go. I say different. You saved Tala's life. This is debt I cannot ignore." "There's no debt," Jack started, but she held up her hand. 3 days, Ayanna said. "Apache custom. You save life, the saved must repay. 3 days I come to your home, help. You honor the debt. Then, we are equal." "Ma'am, that ain't necessary." "It is necessary." Her eyes flashed. "You take my refusal as insult, as if Apache have no honor?" Jack recognized a losing battle. 3 days then, but only if it's safe for you. I can protect myself, Cowboy." The ghost of a smile touched her lips. "I will come tomorrow. Be ready." That night, Jack couldn't sleep, couldn't stop thinking about Ayanna's face, the way she'd held her daughter, the strength in her voice. He told himself it was just relief that Tala was safely home, nothing more. He was lying to himself, and somewhere deep down, he knew it. Ayanna arrived at dawn, riding a spotted mare with the kind of skill that made Jack's careful horsemanship look clumsy. She wore traditional Apache clothing, but carried a rifle with the ease of someone who knew how to use it. Tala rode behind her, and despite Jack's protests that the girl shouldn't make the journey, Ayanna had simply said, "She will not leave my side." Not yet. Jack understood. He'd seen enough war to know that trauma created bonds of steel. For 3 days, Ayanna worked alongside him, mending fences, tending animals, preparing meals with wild plants she gathered from his property that he'd never known were edible. She moved through his space with quiet efficiency, and Jack found himself hyper-aware of her presence, the way sunlight caught in her hair, the strength in her hands, the soft Apache songs she hummed while working. Tala followed them everywhere, slowly relaxing, occasionally laughing at Jack's terrible attempts to pronounce Apache words. In those moments, when Ayanna's face softened with maternal affection, Jack felt something dangerous taking root in his chest. On the 3rd evening, as sunset painted the sky crimson, Ayanna prepared a meal unlike anything Jack had tasted. Venison with herbs and mesquite, bread cooked in ashes, berries sweetened with wild honey. They ate in comfortable silence, while Tala dozed against her mother's shoulder. "The debt is paid," Ayanna said finally. "Tomorrow we return to our people." Jack set down his plate, his appetite suddenly gone. "And if I asked you to stay? Not because of debt, but because He struggled for words. Because these 3 days, this place has felt less empty. You and Tala, you've brought something here I didn't know I was missing. Ayana's eyes widened. You don't know what you ask. My people will not understand. Your people will hate you for it. The world is not kind to Apache women who love white men, or white men who love Apache women. Love, Jack repeated softly. Is that what this is? She looked away, but not before he saw the answer in her face. It is foolish. We have known each other 3 days. I've known it since the moment you ran to Tala, since I saw how you loved her, how you fought for her. Hell, maybe since you called me out for having sad eyes. Jack moved closer, careful not to wake the sleeping child. I know it's crazy, I know it's fast, but I also know I'm tired of being alone, tired of running from things that matter because they're hard. You matter, Ayana. You and Tala both. Tears glistened in her eyes. My husband died 2 winters ago. Soldiers killed him while he was hunting, said he threatened them. He had no weapon, only his bow for deer. Since then, I have hated white men, hated their lies, their violence. But you... She touched his face gently. You make me remember that hate only burns the one who carries it. Jack covered her hand with his. Stay. Not for 3 days. For as long as you'll have me. We'll face whatever comes together. Your people's anger, my people's prejudice. All of it. I don't care what the world thinks if I've got you and Tala. Ayana kissed him then, soft and tentative, a beginning rather than an ending. When she pulled back, she was smiling through tears. You are a crazy cowboy, Jack Callahan. Reckon I am. He grinned. Is that a yes? It is a yes, but we do this with honor, Apache and white ways both. I will not hide as if we have shame. Wouldn't have it any other way. They sat together as stars emerged, Tala sleeping between them, and built plans for a future that defied easy categorization. There would be hard days ahead. Suspicious neighbors, worried relatives, the constant push and pull of 2 worlds colliding. But Jack had found something worth fighting for, and Ayana had found a man who saw her not as savage or victim, but simply as a woman worthy of love. The stray girl Jack had rescued had led him straight to the woman who would steal his heart and make him whole.